We're talking about how faith can help you get and stay sober. I've got recovered life contributor Desiree Hull on the line. How you doing, Desiree?
I'm doing great, Damon. So good to see you.
Good to see you and talk to you. Listen, we're talking about faith today. We're talking about how it can help you, your faith, get and stay sober. I'd love for you to tell a little bit about your addiction journey and how faith played a role in your decision to seek sobriety.
Absolutely. I think I kind of always knew about God. I had gone to Catholic school as a kid. Um, I did a lot of praying for my dad, who was an alcoholic. And I think at that point in time, I started having a little bit of misplaced trust with God um, because the problem wasn't going away. As I got older, I leaned on to like the more social life. I started doing drugs, smoking weed at 13. I was then baptized at a What Would Jesus Do retreat. And it was there that I had an amazing spiritual experience that I kind of held on to my entire life. Um, when I came back from that retreat, I was trying to tell everybody about what happened and who God was. But of course, we're all teenagers, and it was more of like the fun social life stuff and not, anything about church or anything like that. I kind of dove headfirst back into worldly stuff, kept on drinking and doing drugs for a very long time. But now in hindsight, like I can see where strategically he was sending people my way and signs my way and just showing me that he was always there. I didn't have like that rock bottom of like pleading with him the last time. I know I had a lot of people praying for me because my addiction was so bad at the end with alcohol. But it was kind of like one of those moments where I surrendered, and I just felt that week like I didn't have a desire for alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew that he had saved me again.
Desiree, I think faith is very confusing for people in recovery because typically when people start to investigate how they could use faith, they're usually in a place where they don't have it, right? So
Right.
they're in a place of lack and they don't have it. And, you're talking about how you grew up and you had addiction in your family and you accessed faith that you had, your version of faith, right, at that time um, and to try to call on it. But I think a lot of people don't really believe that faith is going to work. They feel like, how can I jump out on the ledge here and have any faith at all if I'm in this position of addiction and trying to get sober? I've gone all the way down. And, look, going all the way down might be missing a meeting or not being able to make a family commitment. It might be for some people a jail sentence, right? So, where you end up in addiction obviously depends on your own personal journey. But what was the turning point for you where you thought, you know what, I got to go all in on this faith and it's going to be really the crucial component in your recovery process?
Right. Yes. So the turning point for me, I think, was I was 3 months sober, and I was really trying to hone in on the fact. Now, I've always had my faith, but I also was very much into at first like calling it the universe, or doing a lot of like meditation and feeling like I was manifesting certain things, and that just always just didn't sit right with me. And I think it is because of my past. Um, so the turning point for me was when one night I was researching schools, and because I wanted to help other people in recovery, and my friend's name popped into my head, and I hadn't spoken to this woman in years. So I decided to reach out to her, and coincidentally, she told me that she was an instructor at a Christian school who helps out with addiction. So it was like one of those things where, like, those signs that you get, and you just feel like, this has been in my heart, and now I'm hearing my friend's name from the past, and I get to talk to her, and it just all kind of shifted together in that point that I knew that I just had to bring in my recovery and my faith all together in one.
Is faith really kind of a muscle? The more you use faith, the more you access faith, the easier it becomes to be able to utilize it, right? Because I think it's that first step of people who are like, okay, I'm going to go out onto the limb here with this faith thing. And just, I know for me and for several other people, the first time that I really looked at faith was, okay, I'm gonna have faith that I am gonna be able to stay sober and that I am gonna be able to get through the day and then I am gonna be able to do this, right? Because so many people I think come into recovery and they have really serious doubts whether they're gonna really be able to live a full sober life.
Yes, absolutely. I did not think I could do it alone. I knew I couldn't do it alone. There was no way that I can foresee my future without alcohol in it. And when I was in that loop, and I just continued to just take it one day at a time and just surrender each day into knowing that there's something out there that's bigger than me, and that's what's helping me get through each day. Because without that surrender, I don't think I would have been able to make it this far. I'm a little over 2 years now.
No, it's amazing. How do you integrate faith in your daily routines now to help you keep on track with your sobriety?
So I do a lot of prayer and meditation. I've been reading and studying the Bible. Within my church community, I started out going to a small women's group for the extra community and support, besides the community and support that I had for my recovery. And now I'll be starting my own women's group shortly. So I'm hoping that that women are sent my way, who are looking to dive more into faith and looking to dive into recovery, because we're recovering from anything at this point. It's not just drugs and addiction and stuff like that. Everybody's recovering from something. So
Absolutely. I think one of the things that people are going to ask Desiree is, look, what's the difference between faith and just being a dreamer, right? Like just, magical thinking, because I think that's one of the issues I think that people that especially in early recovery have is sometimes there's a lot of magical thinking, right? That all of a
mm,
sudden things are going to be resolved or all of a sudden. And I think a lot of times people kind of they conflate both of those together that well, you know what? If I really kind of go out on the limb here and have faith, aren't I really just magically thinking that things are going to be taken care of and that everything is going to be okay?
yeah, I think there is just something magical though about having faith. It's more, I always say it's faith over fear, right? Because when I lived my life in fear, when I lived my life in thinking that I couldn't do, that I couldn't stop drinking, I couldn't stop doing drugs, I was stuck there. It was when I started to have the faith in knowing that maybe, I could do this. And then when I saw that I could last a day, maybe I could last another day. And once all those days start to tack on, you start having that faith and belief in yourself and knowing that you can do it.
Absolutely. I mean, what advice would you give, Desiree, to somebody that's maybe listening to this, that's considering incorporating faith into their own recovery journey? How can they begin that process and start to explore spirituality in their path to sobriety?
Yeah, I think in exploring spirituality in the beginning is more about just being still and one with yourself. I think it's funny that I'm actually saying this now because when my therapist suggested this to me, I I told him there's no way I can be still with myself and just sit. But that's really where it started. I would journal a lot and I would just kind of sit and, pray and write out my thoughts, write out my prayers, write out my dreams, and just kind of being still, is the best way I can put it. And then you can just kind of grow from there.
This has been a really great segment. Thank you so much, Desiree, for coming on, being honest, sharing your experience in your faith journey. Thank you so much
Thank,
for coming on today.
thank you.